Okay, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the second of the workshops of the day. I apologise that the healthy mental practices session can't go ahead today because once a year we do allow the kink shrink some time off. I believe she's at a competition in the States at the moment. So rather than cancel that session, we normally fit this in instead. So has anyone not been to one of the healthy mental practices before? Cool, okay, so let me explain a little bit about what these sessions are about. Which should all be like, what's that? Does it say 3:15? No, I think it says, does it? Oops, okay, up, oh well, I'm a little bit early. But I started everything off and it's all running. So, about 8 years ago, the scene was in a little bit of turmoil. There was a lot of disputes between different groups, and we decided that actually we needed to find a much healthier framework moving forward. So we actually asked the kink shrink to come along and give us what we thought would be a one-off workshop for 60 minutes, talking about healthy mental practices and kink and exploration and how people discover themselves in kink. And actually, it was so incredibly popular that we scheduled one the next month. And it has been such a rolling part of LAM. A couple of years ago, we actually said, look, you know what, 60 minutes isn't long enough. And we extended the session out to almost 2 hours. Okay. In addition to that, the kink shrink also provides some resources and does a Thursday night session about every other week. I think the next one is this week on the 6th, and we usually try and live stream them on LAM as well. And the reason behind this is the one thing that we all share in common is that none of us hatched out of an egg fully formed and experienced dom or sub or switch or whatever. So we all discover kink at some stage as a common experience. Everyone's introduction is going to be different, but actually fundamentally you might be sitting there going, this is a little bit worrying. I like spanking people and punching people and kicking people, and since I was 3 I was brought up not to do any of that stuff. So actually is this something that's wrong with me? So a lot of people will inwardly pathologise their kink to start off with, and unfortunately that can be very unhealthy, because at the end of the day there's enough shame and stigma in the world. We don't need to be applying it onto ourselves as makeup. So by having these sessions, it gives people the ability, particularly when you're new, to ask those questions. Oh my God, I like this, am I normal? Wow, are we talking about inserting something that size or that size? Because guess what? It's all normal, okay? Doesn't have to be your cup of tea. Might be your cup of tea, might be their cup of tea. It's one of those. And one of the things that we've noticed as the scene and the community has expanded so greatly, 20 years ago when I started, it was a lot more structured. It was a lot smaller. And to give you an idea, it was about 2% of the current size of the community. Okay, a lot smaller. But the one thing that we did particularly well back then is we were small enough that we understood that we really had to look after each other. So when someone came along who was new, there would be time spent with them explaining the ground rules, explaining how things work, explaining what was acceptable behaviour, what wasn't, and that way you would kind of find your feet and grow in it relatively stably. But unfortunately, as everything's expanded, and thanks to that godforsaken book 50 Shades, everyone is now familiar with kink. Okay? Love it or hate it, it actually facilitated conversation. So in the past, when I used to meet someone and they go, so you're kinky, what are you into? You'd be a little bit nervous, well actually these are some of the things I like. And you wouldn't necessarily be saying on the first date at Starbucks, yeah, I like hanging people upside down by their ankles and defiling them with dildo-handled swords. Some of you might, but generally speaking, you don't shock people on that first encounter and first experience. But at least now I can turn around and say, yeah, 50 Shades, well, we do it properly. And that at least gives people an understanding of some kind of kink dynamic, domination, submission, etc. And it kind of gives them some reference points, for want of a better word. When I first came out and started going clubbing publicly, you could get sectioned for being kinky. Okay? Classification 65 on the DSM manual used to be consensual sadomasochistic behaviour. And that was dropped in about 2008. God. But it shows you how much everything has changed. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why older people in the community tend to be very, very protective of their personal details, etc. Because, none of us wanted the men in white coats to turn up and cart us away for a couple of weeks. It certainly wasn't the fun we were looking for on the weekend. I like medical play. I don't like being the patient. Simple as that. So the world has changed dramatically from there. And really these sessions are designed to help people ask any kind of question. So throughout this, if you have a question, stick your hand up, indicate. If you don't want your voice to be on the archive, just put a finger across your lips and someone will come over, ask the question, paraphrase it back to me, and then I'll answer it. Okay? So your voice doesn't really have to be heard. Okay? And equally, now I've mentioned it, the archive, all of the workshops that we engage in are recorded and archived up on YouTube and Facebook. So if you're bored of watching Tiger Kings for the 150th time and you want something different, well, there is something silly like 350 plus workshops out there for you to go and have a look at. And they pretty much cover a multitude of subjects, quite often with different speakers as well, because strange enough, we're not a homogenous community. We all have different ideas, different ways of practicing, and really one of the things that I think is key and important about LAM is to kind of dispel this rumour that there are a few of us who know how to do everything with some kind of mortal gods. No, we all learn. You'll learn in the same way that you're all attempting to learn. We might be a little bit further down the path than the rest of you, but we actually started in pretty much the same way as you did. Okay? And equally, one of I think the important lessons is to make it very clear to people that if you enjoy this, then it's a lifetime commitment. Okay? When I first realised I was kinky before I'd even left home, I knew it was part of me, but also I knew that it was a very secretive world and community, and unless I was prepared to start buying contact magazines, there was no way for me to communicate with other people. And actually, when I first came out clubbing, it was really freaky because I'd walk into the room in my early 30s and I'd be one of the youngest people there every single damn time. Okay? Because strangely enough, it was a community made up of generally middle-class, middle-aged white people, because they had the disposable income to come out and play and do all the rest of it. Unfortunately, at my first job working as a research technician, I didn't have the money to blow on latex or leather or anything fun like that. So it wasn't really in my budget. But it was a very different community. Now when you go out and you go clubbing, you'll find a much healthier broad spectrum of ages. You'll even go to some clubs where, lo and behold, they won't allow you in if you're over about 35. Now, personally, that takes inclusivity to a new fucking level with me, as in the opposite level. Because one of the key things about this event is, as long as you are kinky or kink positive, and by that I mean, we don't care what's hanging between your legs, who you want between your legs, how many people you want between your legs. If you don't think you've got anything between your legs, or you want to change what's between your legs, really doesn't matter. Just accept that kink is a positive influence in our lives. Okay? Not even saying that you have to be kinky. You can be completely vanilla, as long as you can accept what this means to us. Okay? And that means, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care how old, as long as you are over the age of 18. Okay? And equally, I don't care what gender you are, or if you're changing your gender, or how you want to dress. If you can't come to a place like this and be yourself, then we're doing it wrong. Okay? We do have some rules. No nipples, no sex, stuff like that.
No female nipples.
No. Well, yeah, no female nipples. It's a technicality, but generally, you know, it's one of those. But these are set by the law. They're not set by us. Okay? If I had the opportunity, you know what? This would be the kind of palace of gay abandon where you could do just about anything you want apart from swing from the chandelier. Someone already tried that on the first event and it broke. It cost about £2,000 to replace it, by the way. So no one swing off it again, please. Because that money does not come out of my pocket, it will come out of yours. So yes, it should be that environment where you can calm and relax. And you know what? We're also not micromanaging it as well. There's a clear set of rules and structure, and as I often say on some of our retreats and stuff like that, if you're one of those people who wants to walk, oh my god, I'm gonna fuck you senseless. Okay? Now I can say that, and equally you have every right, if that is distressing and upsetting, for you to turn around and say, please don't talk to me that way, I'm not interested. Okay? And I can go, I really am sorry, bad judgment call on my behalf, I apologise, I will make sure it will never happen again. And that's the end of the matter. Okay? If you then went, oh my god, that evil master cosmic, he went and did this to me, and I'll go, yeah, but I apologise, and I got it wrong, and we've opened it up and cleared it, and I apologise, it'll never happen again. Can we move on? Because if you can't move on, you might be the one with the issue. It happens. It's just one of those, because what I don't want is someone else watching it and go, oh my god, I can't go anywhere near this guy because he was asked a question, he flew off the handle. I'm really worried about that. I'm nervous. If he doesn't like what we're doing over here, is he going to get objectionable? Is he going to vote? Yeah. Not. He's not going to be there because I'll just say, I'll give you a full refund on the way out of it. Okay? It's one of those. So it's a space that has a foundation set of rules, but we want as much liberty in the space as possible. But we also are huge advocates of personal responsibility. Okay? I can say those things, I accept the responsibility for when I get it wrong. Okay? And equally, I'm not saying it with malice. I mean, I might do once in a while, but generally you'll be able to tell the difference between the two, because I'll have the ski mask on by that stage. Okay? Because I wouldn't want to have an environment where people say, oh my god, I was fine with the spanking, but the moment he got the paddle out, and then he was beating her. They've got every right to be here and do their thing. If you don't like it, there's 3 floors to this building. Go and find a quiet one to go and sit on. And invariably that usually means the rope room, because strange enough, rope isn't as aggressive as other forms of play, and you can relax and come down. I know. Well, when you start doing takedowns, that's a slightly different matter. But that's just a little bit about odds and ethos. You can find, there's one up on the front desk, there's also one on the website, a huge 36-page manual that takes you step by step through how we grew LAM and what it's all about. And if you look at it and you think, oh my god, they've missed something obvious, go to the last page, revisions request, give me your feedback. More than happy to look at it, and as long as it's legal for us to do, we will integrate it into the event. Okay? What never works is you going on FetLife or Twitter and going, rah, 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 because actually I'm not interested. Because again, like the conversation before, someone plays Angry Dinosaur, we're not interested. Because we're advocates of communication and understanding when people talking in sensible terms. Okay? At the end of the day, that's how we all want to be treated. Okay? We should be, as a community, as open and accepting of others as possible. Now, I know that can be challenging with some people in their kinks, or your personal biases as well. Oh my god, what's he dressed like? What's she dressed like? Well, the answer to that is, they're dressed in the way that they want to dress. Okay? And that's all that actually fucking matters. Okay? If you look at someone and do that double take, please spend an extra 10 or 15 minutes afterwards asking yourself why you felt that way. Okay? Because emotions, to me, they're very much like roller coasters. Okay? We all walk along in this mixture, for want of a better word. A couple of minutes ago, something nice happened to me. My dopamine level went up. I stubbed my toe earlier. My endorphin level went up. They counteract and balance each other. So we kind of walk around as this kind of slightly fluxing and changing mix of emotions. Okay? And then what happens is, if you're not careful, a primary emotion comes along. Okay? Anyone want to have a guess at what a primary emotion is? I'll give you an easy one. Anger. Okay? And by primary, I mean something that when it jumps into your head, you can't hold any other emotion in there. Okay? The anger kicks out all the good shit you had for the day. Who can remember, I don't know, sometime in the last month that you went into work and everything was absolutely fantastic and amazing, and something shitty happened and your day just cascaded down? Okay? That's because that anger, you can't hold it and anything else at the same time. It's too powerful. It's a primary emotion. Another interesting one, laughter and happiness. Okay? The moment it kicks in and you belly laugh, and for me it's always my go-to is things like Blackadder, okay, or Philomena Kunk this week. If you haven't watched Kunk on Earth yet, you really fucking have to. It's just an absolute complete piss take from start to finish. But that's my sense of humour. So the moment you start laughing, the dopamine levels start to get released. Your biochemistry goes up. You go into happy la la land. Okay, you're on top of the world because it's a primary emotion. Okay, anxiety can be another one. Okay, when it takes hold and starts eating at you, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. And because it's a primary emotion, it literally locks itself in your brain, and until you shift it out consciously, there's not a lot you can do about it. Okay? And the point on that is going along nice and smoothly, something happens, and you go up on that roller coaster, and it literally takes you up to that emotional high. And even if the person next to you is being all reasonable and trying to de-escalate you and bring you down, you can't listen to it because you're locked in that headspace. Okay? Now, the way I refer to roller coasters is that at the end of the day, we all have that choice. Okay? You might not necessarily see it, you might not necessarily feel it, but actually, you are the person expressing the emotions. You have the ability to put the brake on. But in order to do that, you have to remain mindful and conscious that the brake is actually there. Because the vast majority of people, when they fly off the handle, they forget that the brake's there, they forget that the seatbelt's there, they forget the roll cage is down, and all the rest of it because they're already agitated and not capable of picking up the finer information. Now that's difficult because you know what? We all jump on that roller coaster on a regular basis. Anyone here watch soap operas? There's a couple of indications, but not many. I know it's a guilty secret. Think of soap operas as a fetish, okay? And then they can't kink shame you, okay? But at the end of the day, that is an emotional roller coaster. Condensed into kind of 55 minutes because they want you to be up 1 minute, down the next, then back up again, then down again, because that's the whole point of the exercise. They're playing with your emotions and throwing you up and down and all over the place. Okay? And therefore, you start to see that being able to control your emotions and question yourself before you go on that roller coaster ride is really useful. Okay? At the end of the day, my Monday to Friday job is fixing people or fixing problems in people's homes that they find very distressing. Now, as a result of that, I have 20 years of learning that actually getting stressed and having anxiety does not fix any problem on the face of the planet. It just doesn't. And in fact, once you're in that anxious state, the quality of your decision making goes down, the quality of your work, the energy that you have, the focus. It's so detrimental to so many different things that I literally spend most of my time Monday to Friday explaining to people, hey, it's an emotional roller coaster, but you don't need to get on it. And they're like, whoa, what? And I'm like, yeah, stress is a choice. No, stress isn't a choice. Yeah, stress is a choice. No, you don't understand, my work is very high pressure. Okay, let me give you my most stressful week in the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, well, I went to see my chiropractor on the Wednesday afternoon to get my back adjusted at about 2 o'clock. The Wednesday morning I had spent in BBC House doing 16 interviews for radio stations across the country. On the Tuesday, I gave 6 interviews. On the Monday, I gave 18 interviews. On the Sunday, I gave 3 interviews. None on the Saturday. 1 on the Friday, which started the whole cascade of media attention. And on the Thursday morning, I woke up at 7:30 by 12 police officers raiding my home for human trafficking for the purposes of sexual exploitation. Ooh, holy shit. That's a big fuck you bomb to drop on your life on a Thursday morning. False allegation, but 3.5 months then of torturous investigation against me, because you know what? This London alternative market's a dodgy organisation, isn't it? I mean, we're a limited company, we're on Company's House, but these logos, do you think they hint at something inappropriate, possibly? So yeah, just feckless idiots. But actually, the stress of the Thursday, if I'd have given into it, I would have not done 30 odd media interviews in the following days. On the Monday, I had my own page on the Huffington Post talking about me. Fucking awesome. Phones of the company were ringing off the hook because the amount of business it brought in. But if I'd have allowed myself to give in to that horrific pressure on the Thursday, none of all of that would have happened. Because it was an interview on the Friday that set something up, it was published on the Sunday, and then it cascaded all the way down. Now, I'm talking to the journalist on the Friday. My head is not clear. I'm not having my best this day because, you know, my phone's gone. I've got no IT equipment in the house. They've properly raided me and taken all of my things. But at the end of the day, if I gave into it, then I wouldn't have had all of the benefit of that bizarre situation. And the coincidence between the two, to me, is just classic, because I always find that if something really shitty is going to happen, that's the indication to get ready to catch the good shit that's about to fall. Okay? Now, that in itself is a difficult discipline to be mindful of and to stay in tune with, but it really works for me. Okay? So, being aware of that, sticking the brake on your emotions is brilliant stuff. Spending the time to care for yourself as well. This world is incredibly stressful, not only on your mental capacities, but also on your physical body. If you don't take the time to actually look after yourself, who is going to do that? Now, you might say, but it's my sub's responsibility to look after me. No, it's not. Not at all. Personal responsibility is where it starts and where it ends. It might be your responsibility to say, oh, do me a favour, I had a really crappy day today, I need my feet up. That can be your responsibility, but they're not the one who's responsible for going, oh, you must have a hard day, I must get your feet the moment you get home. No, not their job. Not their job at all. If you need it, communicate it, be clear about it, set it up. Because that way, you're not sitting there going, oh, what I really need today is for her to read my mind and to say that I need my feet rubbed. It's not never fucking happen. Never happen in a million years. Okay? Never gonna read your mind in that way. She'll read it in other ways, but only usually when it's to her benefit. I'm just gonna hang that one out there. You can tell from the cheeky smile. Okay? So be mindful of your own needs. If you are relatively new to kink, there's a couple of reminders on the pop-ups here. there is a workshop on our archive called Clear on Consent in Kink. Okay? What? Cock. Absolutely. This is because, you know, when you've attended the workshop, you can stand in front of the sign and have your own cock shop. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. It was part of our campaign to lean in and reclaim the cock shop. Okay. But yeah, great resource. Because at the end of the day, it will teach you that, again, with your exploration, what does kink mean? Well, what does it mean to you? Because kink to you is different to kink to you. So actually, the first stage of the process is for people to stop and say, what does this mean to me? Because until you get that shit sorted in your head and communicate it with other people, I probably shouldn't be in this community. Okay? Because there's plenty of people who go, oh my God, you're brand new, you don't know anyone. Come under my wing. I'm the safe person. I'll look after you. Happens all the time. Okay? And invariably, several months down the line, we find out that the safe person is not actually safe. And there are a string of people who claim to be abused by them. Okay? It's one of those. Always listen out for that. I'm the safe people. Because no, sensible people do not say that they're safe. Okay? Because quite frankly, some of what we do in kink is never going to pass the safe. Never in a million years. Not all life-threatening, but actually, if you think about what safe actually means, you are safe sitting there in that chair at this precise moment in time. Yeah. However, the circumstances may change. So you might be safe in the moment, but actually that may change down the line. And equally, what is safe between two people is different to what's safe for two other people. Okay? You might have a problem that you weren't aware of, and that's there, putting the rubber gloves on, lubing up, go to pop in, and that's the day you realise that you've got some kind of anal cyst or something like that. Okay? It happens. Okay? Just be aware of it. And there's no point saying, but the last person I anal fisted it just went straight in. They were a vet. No, their previous partner had been a vet. There's a subtle difference, trust me. Although I do know a vet who likes fisting. I'm going to speak to her this week and find out if there's actually a link between that one.
If she's talking about ass apartment, say no.
Yeah, well, I won't tell you the rest of the details, you know. God, I have enough trouble keeping on YouTube anyway. So if I start telling the proper stories, then, oh my God, I'm just going to get shut down in nanoseconds. What do you mean? And the whole hang upside down? Ask me afterwards. It'll be a lot easier. But there we go. Another common mistake that people make with kink is fucking awesome community. And I'm like, Christ, if you've only just discovered it, your eyes must be out on stalks and all of these things you want to do. Fucking great. But remember, once you've done them, you can't do them again for the first time. So savor them, please. Okay? Because the years and years and used to be the most overused phrase in about 2008. Okay? Here's my new submissive. We've been together for 3 months and she's done everything. Oh, really? Okay. When was the last time you hanged upside down and the dildo handled a sword foot in the car? So, both that way, but it's YouTube. See me for it. Never happened. Not done everything, and have you? Okay? And it's a really silly place to get to because, funnily enough, when you finish reading a book, you're generally bored of it. You might put it down and pick it up later, but you're probably bored of it at that particular point in time. When you do all the kink things, you might have this strange, belief that you are now bored, when in fact you're actually just stupid because no one gets to the end of all this stuff. Yeah. Stupid, bored, confusing for stupid people. Much more sensible to look at it and go, wow, okay, These are the things that really float my boat that I want to try, and I'm really drawn towards those. And the other things, you know, I'm going to spend a little bit more time. Okay, because it might be the person you're playing with isn't into that kind of stuff. So you've got to find a way of going, hey, I know you don't like this, but I'm really interested in it. Are you fine with me going off and exploring? What does that look like to you? What will keep you happy through that exercise? Okay? Because that way you're setting up rather, I want to go off and do this, and immediately it's, oh gosh, he wants to go off and gang banged by 17 blokes. Okay? No, not at all. Be clear about what you want, communicate it, and also what can I do to you for you to help that in return? Because I'm going to have a lot of fun. Well, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun. But actually, I want you not to be sitting at home going, well, I'm really bored today. Okay, so think about it, particularly if you're playing together on a regular basis. Do you want to do something? What will make the other person happy and comfortable you going off and doing? Okay, so think about it in that respect as well. No one is going to jump out of a cupboard dressed as a unicorn, farting rainbows of glitter to congratulate you that you have completed all 17 pages of BDSM checklist.
Not Friday.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And strange enough, if you have looked at one of those checklists and gone all the way down, you've got from the first page to the last page without using a dictionary, go back and do it sincerely. Okay, because you know what? I've heard of an awful lot of things, but every time I see one of the new versions of that list, I scan through to find what words I don't know. Because there will be someone who's added something unusual to it. It might be just a derivative, but it needs to be checked. Okay? But at the end of the day, if you find something you don't understand, grab the dictionary, grab another person, ask some questions, because that's how we all learn. Remember, there haven't been secret leather-bound books covered in dust produced since the Middle Ages teaching us how to do all of this shit. Okay? In fact, literature for kink has only really been a pervasive thing in about the last 8 years. Okay? Prior to that, we were stuck with a limited number of books. Some of them were clearly written in the late 70s, or at least illustrated in the late 70s. Anyone old enough to remember the mid-90s version of The Joy of Sex? Boom! They were fucking hairstyles, weren't they? And the beards! Good God! And the sketches of the hair. Yeah! And the pubic hair. Boom! It was just phenomenal! Really shocking.
Yeah, I didn't know you could permanent stuff.
Obviously you can for an illustrator. But yeah, it was just... So a lot of the older literature was just like shockingly out of date, or badly put together and not to modern standards. And it literally wasn't until the mid to late noughties did we start seeing publishing houses go, oh, I think I can put together a good coffee table book on kink. My personal favourite, Bondage for Sex, Volume 1 by Chandler Rose. It's actually launched at the very first LAM back in 2006. Okay, it's an amazing book. It is literally a coffee table book. The pictures are amazing, the text is great. It needs to be rewritten.
Don't get it from Amazon, get it from your app upstairs, because Amazon will charge you about 120 quid for it.
Yeah. Worth every pound of 120 quid, trust me.
What's that? We get it for 3 or 4.
But get on the waiting list with Zach and she'll find you slightly cheaper copy. And actually, I'm in negotiations with the author to get permission to rewrite the book.
It also makes a nice change that it's written by a woman.
Yes. Yeah. Well, did you know? No. The first 2 big bondage books in the world, The Seductive Art of Japanese Rope Bondage, and Bondage for Sex Volume 1, both written by women. Well, right. I'm allegedly banned from all kink events in Portland, Oregon because of that woman doesn't like me. There we go. Her loss, not mine. And you know what? I've travelled the world extensively, but being blocked from Portland, Oregon has never Okay. In fact, I've been to more US cities than most American citizens and not stepped foot in the state of Oregon yet. Just feel no need for it. But there we go.
You're right, it's great.
Yeah, great book, great resource. But nowadays, particularly with the internet and how pervasive it's got, you can find resources on just about every subject. Okay? Give you a hint. If you can't find the resource you're looking for on any subject, head to Google Bard and get ALA to write it for you. Okay? Weird as it sounds, there's something about Bard, it writes really good content for FetLife. Okay? If Bard writes my posts, they get lots of loves and follows.
As in Bard as a B-A-R-D, not B-A-R-R-E-D.
No, B-A-R-D. If I write them myself, they get like a tenth of the response. It's really fucking weird. I know. Bothered? Not in the fucking slightest. Because actually, this way around it works best because I just walk up to Bard and I give it 2 or 3 paragraphs of text and it chunks out 5,000 words for me a couple of seconds later. I'd read it once and I might throw the odd anecdote in, but outside of that.
Kick story for somebody borrowed from Ireland.
There you go. But yes, there are resources out there, and equally, any kinkster who has been around for any time, okay, the Venn diagram, kinksters, nerds, geeks, okay, the overlap is there, and as a result, you ask someone to talk to you, teach you, explain what just happened, oh my God, you're going to have a problem getting them to shut the fuck up at the end of the exercise. Because what they've just done is something that they're passionate about that they enjoy, and therefore wait till they're finished playing, make sure the scene is completely finished, and then go off and say, hey, if I buy you a drink, can you tell me about that? Might cost you a second or a third drink, but actually they will just be talking and talking and talking. And actually that's some of the best information that I got when I started out was from people that I did that with. So I walked into a club one night, and there's this really old bloke, he looked about 80 or so, like cat weasel basically, with a big straggly beard.
Show your age.
And he's got this huge circle of people around him. And there's this strange crackling, buzzy noise coming from the middle of it. And I'm just like, whatever the fuck that is, I've got to go and see. And as we got closer, sure enough, there was the noise, there was light coming from it. And this guy's holding this thing, and I didn't know what the fuck it was. Okay? Looks like he's got this strange shaped light bulb, and there's blue sparks coming out of it. And that was my first encounter with a violet wand. Okay? First time I'd ever seen one was when I went out clubbing, and I'm just like, holy fucking shit, do I need one of those? I now own 38 of them. They're a small one, so it's easy to take it clubbing easily. But then, you know, you need the big set with all the attachments and the hidden layer of glass dildo and all the rest of it. Damn good fun. Because the problem is kink can be incredibly addictive. Okay? You want to collect, you want to feed your obsession. There are times that I see something where I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know who I'm going to stick that in, but I've got to buy it. Because it's just the right colours. Yeah, simple as that. Or sometimes I have this crazy idea like, oh my God, I want someone to make me butt plugs that fit tuning forks down the neck of it. Got it. Got there. Oh yeah.
Who has 2 assholes?
2 holes, not necessarily 2 assholes. And again, constructive interference waves with Doppler effect. That's all I'm going to say. But it's a niche choice.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, you just don't want a neck flat. No. So yes, the limits to what you can do are only really set by your imagination and the physiology of the people you play with. Simple as that. And I'll tell you one thing for nothing, and I won't confirm how exactly I know this. Human beings are a lot more resilient than you first think. Okay? You can break things and they heal quite quickly. but to make sure you have consent to do so. Okay? And believe it or not, yes, people can consent to these extreme level of acts and activities. I had someone I played with 5-6 years ago, who every time you beat her, she giggled. And she giggled louder and louder and louder. Okay? I have this butyl baton that's about 5 kilos in weight, and it's cut from the section of the bumper off the back of the lorry. Because that wasn't meaty enough, I then had about 3 kilos of ash fitted on as a baseball bat handle. Okay? Now, it's about this kind of length, weighs a good 7 or 8 kilos. I'm not going to say what her weight was, but she was quite a large person on a metal spanking bench. And as I'm beating her and the spanking bench is moving by an inch or two each time, but every time it slides, she giggles. Okay? And literally there were people in the club going, oh my God, he's going to beat her to death. Someone should stop this. And then when the laughs and the giggles got louder and louder and louder, those people sitting there going, oh my God. She's laughing. You can't be killing her because she's laughing. She's clearly enjoying it. It kind of had that flicking of their heads moment where what they saw, they wouldn't want to experience it themselves, but it was very, very clear that the people who were doing it are thoroughly enjoying it. That's the way it goes. And again, if you see someone, you're not sure what the hell's going on, or it's a bit extreme to you, and you're having those questions, grab one of the crew. Okay? We'll often be able to explain it to you because our experience is that bit broader. Okay? And say, oh my God, no, that's Fred and Rose. They love it when they're not. I always default to Fred and Rose and then go to tell me a story about Stroud, what I shouldn't.
And then that's the WI of Daniel Lockman.
Exactly. That's their thing. They really enjoy it. And you know what? They might be there. She's restrained onto a piece of furniture, screaming at the top of her lungs. But guess what? You can come to a pet club and scream at the top of your lungs, and we really don't care. You can't do it in your own home. Okay? Because what happens is the local authorities start plastering your building with notices about, need a safe haven from sexual assault and domestic violence. Yeah, my block is covered in fucking things. Because as far as my neighbours are concerned, the screaming that comes through from my flat is A, unnatural, and B, according to some of the notes I occasionally get, that they feel it's exaggerated. I always write back, I'm nice. I said, I'm terribly sorry that you feel it was exaggerated. As there were more than the usual 2 people in the room making a noise, it's occasionally a little bit louder than you would anticipate. And as for the exaggerated, no, seriously, she lost the ability to speak. She practically passed out through the number of orgasms she's had. And I'm so sorry that you've never experienced that in your life. Went on to the council. Hey, you know that thing about me being a person of alternative sexuality and free to express myself however I wish in the privacy of my own home? Yeah. Do you want to have a word with your tenants about that? Because it's not very fair, is it? Oh, really sorry, sir. Really, we'll make sure that gets changed. But there we go. Because they worked out from my front door, which has this huge, elaborate dragon on it, that something unusual must be going on inside my house. And a couple of years ago, they actually had to come in to do a building-based inspection. So, strange enough, I had the head of the engineers turned up on site with the senior assessor. And the first terrorist site to disturb you will be as fast as we can. Are there any rooms that we need to be most cautious about? And I'm like, yeah, come in, you're fine with the toilet, you're fine with the bathroom, you're fine with the kitchen, but to the right is the main dungeon, to the left is the secondary dungeon. My photo studio is at the back, and my office is there to the right.
No medical review,
So I've still got the operating table, still got the anaesthetic machine, but I literally don't have space to put it out in the way that I would want. So it's kind of pushed into the corner of the room. And equally, all of the spare additional LAM furniture is currently in my front room because when 2020 hits, 600 quid a month for storage. Yeah. When you're making no money and burning through £1,000 a month in your expenses, that got shot. So I ended up with a complete stacked, like 6 foot high level of dungeon furniture in my front room. But
You've got concrete floors and not thimbles.
I do. That's the whole joy about my place. I have concrete floors, so my bed weighs about half a ton. It's made out of kink clamp scaffolding, totally adjustable, goes up and down. Anyone seen The Joy of Teen Sex, Season 2, Episode 3? That was shot in my bedroom. Okay. They wanted me to do something filthy with someone, and the only place I could think of was my home, so, shocker. But there we go, yes. Although I'm not having that Dilly, whatever her name was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did the rounds, a friend of mine. Billy Piper.
Yeah.
When she did research for the Star of a Poor Girl, whatever it was, she went around a couple of people's in the scene's houses to do research. Good on her.
The best one was when she came out to what was it? No, it was Peaches who did this one. Peaches Geldof. She was going to be the new roving kink reporter about a decade ago. So she started going out to events, and she went to, I think, the Gothic Munch or the Vampire Munch in Camden. And this is back in the days when our main internet forum was a place called Informed Consent. And literally, someone was like, "Oh my God, help me, help me, help me! Peaches Geldof and a film crew have come into the munch. I'm in the toilets. Will someone rescue me?"
Hiding in the toilet.
Because it happened at the same time when the Chilean miners got trapped underground, a couple of days after they got released. So literally the post says, "Don't worry, tap on the pipes, we're sending the Chilean miners." So, and the Chilean miners have become synonymous with fetish ever since, because whenever there's a panic, I always offer to send in the Chilean miners. Least of all because, a story like that is brilliant and it needs to be told for years and years to come. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's why they always have a place in my heart. What's that?
And in your pipework.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you never know when you need international rescue, do you? But there we go. So, ask, talk, communicate, massive key skills when it comes to kink. I realise that I'm prattling on a bit. Does anyone have a question for me? Go on.
What are the tuning forks tuned to?
Okay, so I have 2 sets.
And
One is
that's what you picked up on.
One with a standard, and then I have a set that tunes to planetary. Okay. And I haven't tested Uranus yet, if that was your next question. But they actually have adjusting bars on it as well, so you can slightly change the frequency. So if you really want to go to town and spend the whole day literally tuning someone or retuning them, it can actually be done.
Gives them a whole new way of saying, oh,
Well, a couple of months ago, someone accused me of realigning people's chakras with my cock. Which is kind of actually what it's all about, if that makes sense. Because one of the controversial things that the King Street and I often debate is she will say things like 60% of women can't come through penetrative sex. And I'm like, really? I've heard that from a lot of my partners at the start of the exercise, but a lot fewer at the end of the exercise. Because it's like everything in life. If you got up this morning and decided that you wanted to run the marathon and be the world's fastest marathon runner, but then by lunchtime you're starting the doubts kicking in, you're never going to do it. Okay? If you want to be the most orgasmically available person on the face of the planet, practice. Okay? And give yourself the permission to be that person. Okay? Because I'm telling you, the stats, I will argue against them till the cows come fucking home. Because my lived-in experience is very different from that. I'm used to people saying at the start, and then very quickly going, oh yes, I see what you mean now. Okay? When you actually, give in to the experience and you want to actually enjoy it, strange enough, you do enjoy it. Okay? And again, intent, I suppose that's probably going to come under my final heading of. If you set out to have the most awesome time, guess what? You'll have the most awesome time. Or you will most likely have the most awesome time. Because the intent that you approach things is so massively important. Okay? If you come along to an event like this going, oh yeah, you know what, I'll find me a woman who will come home with me, you won't. Okay? You come here and say, I want to meet some new people and talk to some people, and in a couple of months, my social circle might expand to a point where someone goes, oh my God, wow, I know just the perfect person to play with you. Okay? And that's often how it happens.
Go left shot.
Exactly. Okay? And equally, when it comes to intent, a little bit of practice, I've been doing this last 2 weeks now. Whenever I get into my vehicle before I turn the keys, I say, I'm looking forward to that parking space that's available outside my next client's house. And guess what?
There isn't one.
9 times out of 10, I literally pull into a parking space directly outside their house. Okay? Now, I'm not going to say that's because I do that every single time, but actually, I do that every single time because it tends to give me the outcome I'm looking for. So I set off on my journey with the intent to find that parking space. Okay? I come out clubbing, I'm coming out clubbing with the intent to find people to play with. Yeah? Maybe to tie them up and suspend them or spank them or whatever, but I go out with that intent. Okay? If I went out going, oh, I'm going to have a fucking awful night, God, then we're going to be a bunch of cock-wombling cunt muffins, and that's it, I'll just be like, Billy No Mate sitting in the corner of the room. I would be Billy No Mate sitting in the corner of the room. But actually, because it's me, I'm actually really comfortable doing that. I turned up to a munch this week, and there's a guy who's a bit of a character. He's clearly on the spectrum. His language of communication is different to everyone else's. And I actually really like sitting down and chatting to the guy. Because as much as anything, I know he's always going to be on his own. But at the same time, he's a fascinating individual with a great conversation once you get past that initial set of boundaries. Okay? So, get out, enjoy yourselves, be positive about it, look at learning as much as you can. Anyone who says, I know it all, avoid like the plague, because I guarantee you they don't know it all, and in fact, they're the ones that tend to make mistakes because they think they know it all. Okay? Right, that's me done because I have to run upstairs.